Good Friday morning, friends. Welcome back for another episode of the Finding God in the Dark podcast. I'm Don,
And I'm Jonathan.
and today we are talking about the 2025 Best Actress nominated film, Song Sung Blue, starring, as you can see behind Jonathan there, Kate Hudson and why am I drawing a blank on the man's name?
Hugh Jackson.
Hugh
Yeah.
Jackman. Thank you. I wanted to call him Wolverine.
Wolverine, yes.
Um, and after the last couple of three or four films that we've watched, which have been pretty intense films,
Mhm.
this was a very pleasant palate cleanser.
Yes.
Um, it's this is a feel-good movie.
Mhm.
While it has some sad moments, of course,
Yep.
and some challenging moments, and there's a very good reason that Kate Hudson is nominated for Best Actress here,
Yeah.
because she is a powerhouse in this film.
Yeah.
Um, it is not a tough film to watch. In fact, it's a fun film to watch.
Mhm.
So, where do you want to start on theme, Jonathan?
Um, I think the idea of kind of dealing with tragedy is a part of this movie that
Oh yeah, a big part.
um, you have the Kate Hudson character, Claire. She loses her leg because of
Hmm.
a just a weird auto accident, um, and then they don't. I did a little deep dive. This is actually the same name of a documentary about this couple that was
Okay.
done over a decade ago, or about a decade ago or so. Um, and he struggled with alcoholism. In the movie, he's kind of still dealing with alcoholism, but he's not actively dealing with addiction. In the
He's in
movie,
recovery. He goes to meetings. Yeah.
yeah, in the documentary, it's clear that they both struggled with addiction stuff. She clearly connected to losing her leg and all that, the stuff that happens sometimes. You get
Hmm.
addicted to pain pills, all those kind of things.
Right.
So addiction's a big part of this. Dealing with kind of rebuilding your life is a big part of this. Both of them do that several times. Um, and to me, that's kind of a theme in our faith. You know, the idea that life is going to be difficult, life is going to bring challenges, you're going to fall down sometimes.
Hmm.
How do you use the community, and how do you engage with God in a way that helps you come back to life through resurrection, that kind of thing. So,
Yeah, there's really a strong angle here too of how those things affect a family.
mm,
It was interesting that, I was watching this with my youngest son who's 13.
mm,
And I would say there's probably nothing in this film that, as a parent, your 13-year-old couldn't see. It was
no,
pretty certain. There's one sort of implied scene of, relationship between the couple, but
yeah,
um, he was doing the Serenity Prayer.
yeah.
I was right there with him doing the Serenity Prayer. My son kind of looked at me, he's like, "How did you know that?" I said, if I got some family history to share with you, son, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So not and for those of you who don't know my story, that's not about me. I'm not the recovering alcoholic, but I'm what's considered an ACOA, an adult child of alcoholism.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it was interesting to see how the entire family dynamic played into this. It would be fun to do one of those family dynamic diagrams to see what this. Now, that being said, and you had mentioned this before we started filming, they
Yeah.
really compressed the timeline here.
Yes, I mean the youngest child does not seem to age at all, which
Hmm.
would give you the sense that like all of this happened within like a 2 year period.
Right.
But doing a minimal amount of research, they were married for 12 years. They were doing these kind of performances for almost 20.
Right.
So they were together on some level for almost 2 decades.
Hmm.
It makes a lot more sense of how you have the beginning of the movie, he struggles to connect with her oldest child, her daughter, to at the end of the movie, she's calling him Papa. Like, like how did that
Right.
happen in a 2 year period?
2 years,
It
yeah.
didn't. It happened over 20 years. So,
Yeah. That said, and some things you have to suspend your disbelief, or you have to,
yeah,
chalk it up to,
yeah,
in order to tell the story, you've got to compress
yeah,
the timeline some. But the story is fun. It was funny because when we first started watching it, um, before you even really knew any of the characters,
mhm,
they were playing a Neil Diamond song. Because
yeah,
for those who haven't seen this, they do a Neil Diamond experience
yeah,
show.
yeah,
Okay. Um, they were playing a Neil Diamond song as he was walking towards this. I think he was supposed to do a Don Ho bid at the state
yeah.
fair. And my wife walked in the room. She says, "Oh, I like that song. What is this?" I said, "This is the movie I wanted to take you to go see back around Christmas."
Yeah.
Oh, and then she went upstairs and she does.
Funny.
But that still I think she would enjoy, my wife would enjoy this film as
Yeah.
much as she enjoyed the Bob Dylan film that we saw. Perfect Stranger, right?
Um,
Or A Complete
it
Unknown.
wasn't
A
perfect surgery,
Complete
but
Unknown.
it's
Was A
something.
Complete
Yeah.
Unknown.
Yeah.
She loved that. I think she would enjoy this. And this is, again, for those who haven't seen the film, it's not Neil Diamond. It's not an autobiography about Neil
No,
Diamond. It
no.
is about this couple who do a Neil Diamond sort of a tribute
Yeah,
band.
they were a really they actually got I don't know if it was before he died or after, but they actually got a citation from the state legislature of Wisconsin for kind of the fact that they were so popular and made an impact on so many people's lives. Some people claim that their performances that when they were at the top of their game was better than going to a Neil Diamond concert. So
Can't say I've seen either, but that's an interesting thought.
yeah,
I thought there was and I'm assuming this is true. Most of it's based at the beginning of the film. It says based on a true love story,
yeah,
right? Um, the scene where they were called upon to open for Pearl Jam.
yes,
I thought that was pretty cool. And I'm not,
yes,
look, I, I for those of you who don't know, I'm an old school metalhead.
yeah,
Okay. I like heavy metal music. Pearl Jam grunge music it's okay to me. I'm not a huge fan,
yeah,
but that would have had to have been really cool. And
yes,
and the funny part was he had no idea who Eddie Vedder was,
yeah.
who Pearl Jam was.
Yeah, and again, that was a really nice moment of this idea of helping the people that are connected to you be introduced to somebody else.
Yeah.
Because in the movie, there's a scene where Eddie Vedder, because uh, Mike asks him to come on stage, Eddie Vedder basically gives everybody permission to really embrace this different style of music, right? And this thing
What
that they're
they necessarily would not have paid to see at
yeah,
a Pearl Jam concert,
yeah.
because let's be honest, Pearl Jam and Neil Diamond are not in the same musical genre.
Well, it speaks to me because I mean, I haven't been to a ton of concerts, but I've been to a couple concerts where literally people are just giving crap to the opening act
Oh yeah,
because they just want the main act
they
to
just
come
want the
out.
headliner. Yeah,
Yeah, and just the idea of Eddie Vedder spending some time singing a song with them to kind of give them the momentum they need to do their show. It was just kind
yeah,
of a neat kind of thing.
yeah, it
Yeah.
was. And it's funny because I've been to a lot of concerts.
Okay.
Not a whole lot recently, but when I was in my, teens and 20s and 30s, I was
Yeah.
going to concerts 5, 6, 7 times a year. And it for me, it was pretty rare. I did see it on occasion
Yeah.
where, people were just, they want nothing to do with the opening act.
Yeah.
But I went to a concert in November of 2024 where most of the people who were going to that show were going to see the headliner. They had no idea who the opening act was.
Yeah.
And it turned out that now it was a heavy metal concert. It was Iron Maiden was the headliner.
Okay.
The opening act was a band called The Who, not spelled that way, spelled HU, and they are a Mongolian folk metal band.
Nice.
Okay. And most of us, like my first listen to them, like, okay, who is this band? I looked them up. It's like, okay, maybe. And then, I saw them as the opener. I was like, okay, this is not as bad as it felt just watching it on YouTube. So, maybe some people need to open their minds a little bit.
Sure.
Um, and just say, hey, this isn't the band I came to see, but the headliner chose them for a reason,
Yeah.
you know. Um, but there were so many. I think there were so many scenes like that throughout the film where
Yeah.
it just kind of twisted your expectations.
It was a, I knew Hugh Jackman has done several. He does a lot. I've never seen him on Broadway, but he does a lot of Broadway musicals, and
He did Les Mis. He
he's
did the
done a
movie version of
he's
Les
done a
Mis.
couple he's done a couple musical movies that so the idea that he could sing was not a surprise to me. I didn't realize that Kate Hudson was as good as she was. I mean, she was very good at this.
And this is now the second time that we've talked about a Kate Hudson film that was primarily around music, right? Because the other was Almost Famous.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So that's and it was interesting because I'm thinking back to Almost Famous when we reviewed that was, I don't know, 6 months ago or
yeah,
so. Um, she doesn't look anything at all like the same character. I mean, it's you know, again, I think she's a tour de force in this film. She
yeah,
really is. As much as you love Hugh Jackman and kind of the story really does revolve around him,
yeah,
she it just eats up every scene.
yeah.
And she's so good.
Hmm.
Um,
Yes.
Particularly, I think in those scenes where she's dealing with the after effects of losing a limb
Hmm.
and all of the, not just the addiction, but the depression
Yeah,
and like she just, and there's some in there where it gets a little bit into she's having hallucinations and things
yeah,
like that. But um that whole kind of segment of the film, and it really wasn't long, maybe 15 minutes of the film,
yeah.
was just powerful.
It was. No, she did a really good job.
Because, well, and look, as an adult child of alcoholism,
Yeah,
people don't understand. They think it's just a choice. It's just, well, you made bad choices. Trust me when I tell you, addiction is not a bad choice. Addiction is a disease,
yeah,
and it deserves to be recognized at least by the people who don't experience it,
yeah,
that it is something that is very challenging to overcome. It is beatable,
yeah.
but it's not easy.
Yeah, I mean, my grandfather was an alcoholic. He ended up becoming a pastor, um, and his family is littered with alcoholics.
Mhm.
And what they actually say something that I say to people all the time when we talk about addiction. I said the vast majority of addicts never deal with the underlying reason that they are addicted to things. And so the best case scenario for most addicts is just to replace their addiction to substances with something else.
Right.
And and that's what my grandfather did. He replaced it with religion.
Hmm.
Um, and in this movie, you could argue both of them to some degree replace it with music.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, for sure.
yeah,
For absolutely for certain.
yeah,
Now, the question then has to be, is that a wholesome way
yeah,
to deal with your addiction?
yeah. I don't
Because
think
you
it's
can do
yeah,
anything to an extreme that's not helpful.
yes. I don't think it's the ideal way, but I do think most people never can take the time or have the energy to really unpack their stuff that drives their addiction.
Yeah.
So the easiest solution to save people's lives is to just hopefully turn them to something that you would rather be addicted to, whether that be
Something that's not as
exercise,
harmful.
work, whatever it is. Yeah,
Something that's not as harmful, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
And in this case, in this film, I mean, not having not lived or seen the actual story,
yeah,
there's a sense here that that's really what saved both of them
yeah.
was the music.
No, I mean, I
Yeah.
think that's one of the things that's worth reflecting on is the power of art and the power of music to
Yeah.
really transform lives.
Yeah.
The idea, to put it in the context as two pastors probably should, God often uses music and art to connect with people and to transform people. You know,
And let's be honest, to help us reflect on things that we might not normally think about.
yes.
Um, and that's important.
Yeah, I mean,
You know,
you see that in this movie throughout. Song Blues, which is a song that I think I heard, but I never really listened to the lyrics of.
hmm
But the Mike character, the Hugh Jackman character, uses it throughout as a way to remind him that life is tough, but life is shared, and he uses it beautifully at his sobriety anniversary every year. He plays it for his AA group to remind them that life is hard, but life can be dealt with together, and that we all share the reality of difficult periods in life.
Yeah, and I had to say, while um not the best movie of the year
Yeah,
here,
yeah,
it's probably close to the top of my favorites
yeah. I
for
mean,
this year, just because it's just enjoyable.
yeah. They really did a good job with the musical pieces here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it's interesting that they this is a much more standard musical, right? This is something that you just know as a musical. What's interesting is you see the connections to Sinners, which is also developed as a musical, but you don't think of it as a musical. And this movie really is kind of a more standard musical, but they did a wonderful job with the musical pieces.
Yeah. Yeah, and certainly a lot of talented musicians in the background in
Yeah,
this, um, playing the parts behind the scenes.
yeah,
Yeah, I like this film a lot.
yeah.
What else do we want to say about it? I mean, I think there was what do you say? The longer you live, you get to see your dreams die a slow death.
That's a comment that one of the folks in the AA group said,
Yeah.
and it kind of sparked in the movie. It sparks Mike to want to fully embrace this idea of doing Neil Diamond reviews.
Right. And it's so funny that he was very averse to the idea of doing Neil Diamond at the
Yeah,
beginning.
yes,
That, he was like, no, Neil Diamond is like the pinnacle. I can't do Neil Diamond,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
which okay, maybe.
Well, it's also this idea, right, of it's an interesting conversation about recognizing that your ultimate dream that you thought was going to be what you were going to do may not be what you end up doing, but it doesn't mean that it's completely divorced from what you end up finding in life.
And
Because he loves performing, and he ultimately wanted to be kind of like a rock and roll star. That didn't work out for him, but yet he had a big impact on people's lives performing. So,
let's look at it from a pastoral calling perspective.
yeah,
I mean, does that not relate to your calling? Because often, and I know many pastors that will say, well, I resisted the call to ministry for a long time. I didn't want to do that, but that wasn't your plan, but it was God's, and you
yeah,
never know the difference you're going to make until you step into God's will and God's plan,
yeah. I
you
mean,
know?
I think this is a good reminder for us in clergy and also outside in the church that people are called to things and they don't always have to be pastors. Like these two people
Amen.
were clearly called to perform, to sing, to bring joy and
Hmm.
hope and happiness to people by performing. That's a call.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And I think I'm sure we've both done it at times, talk to people who are, wait a minute. When I talk about calling in a
yeah,
sermon or I talk about calling in a conversation, I'm not saying you're called to pastoral ministry
yeah,
like I have been.
yeah,
And you have to discern what your calling is, but God's got a plan for you.
yeah.
You got to find it. And where are you feeling led? And the other part of it, I love this that doesn't get talked about enough. The other part of it is people think that they're going to have this big revelation that God's just going to show up in a bright shining light like he did for Paul on the road to Damascus and say, do this.
Yeah.
And that's not really the way it's going to happen. The way it's going to happen is you're going to hear the kind of affirmations from the people around you, the faithful people around you that say, "Hey, that was really great. You should do that more."
Yeah,
You know?
I think it was Parker Palmer. He's a fairly well-known um, pastoral care theologian, and he
Hmm.
says that our call really is the intersection of our gifts and our joy as it intersects with the need of society.
Yeah.
That's really where our call is. You know.
Yeah. And sometimes you can be in that and you're doing it and you love what you're doing,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But sometimes you still get those moments when,
Of
oh,
course.
what am I doing? Why am I here? With it? And I had one of these moments just this week when someone who is close to me actually said to me, since I've been watching you, um, watching you preach and relate and speak with your church and your communities, and she says, I, I I can see that how much you love what you do and how much it's impacting the people around you and what that means. And I was just like full up with that, like, oh man, wow, you know,
Yeah. Thanks.
well, I'll be honest, you need to hear that every once in a while.
Sure,
Like,
of course.
look, there's always people. I have always had people in my churches who every week tell me what a great sermon it was, and I know that it's not great every week.
Yeah.
Some weeks it's middling. And I'm sure I've put a stinker out there on occasion.
Yeah.
But you know, to hear that from somebody that you care about, to hear that from someone close to you, it's like,
Yeah.
wow, that means an awful lot.
Yeah.
And uh, but that's the kind of thing that I think people need to look for to affirm, where is God calling you?
Yeah.
Like, what are people telling you are your gifts? What are people telling you, like, you do that so well, you should do that more?
Yeah.
Um, and you see some of that in this film, right?
Mhm.
In the very beginning, and how, like, Mike's character, he doesn't want to be Don Ho. They want him to be Don Ho. He's like, no, I want to do my own original stuff. I want to do, I want to do. What was the other song? He wanted to do something else.
Um,
Like he wanted to do cover somebody,
yeah.
and then he wanted to do, oh, it was an Elvis song
Yeah.
because the Elvis impersonator was
Yeah.
upset with him.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Um, and yet where he finally gets, to where he wants to go, it's
Yeah.
when she starts affirming what he's doing, and it's sort of their dynamic together that gets them to where they are.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, just I don't know. I'm not. I could gush a little bit about this film. I think it's just enjoyable. It's
Yeah.
just a very enjoyable film.
Yeah.
And again, that's not to say there aren't some sad bits and some challenging bits to watch in it,
Sure.
but nothing objectionable for those of you with younger kids. Like I said, my 13-year-old watched it
Yeah.
and he enjoyed it. In fact, afterwards he's asking me in the car to put on Suleiman
Yeah.
and I was like, I don't even know that song other than from the movie, son. I know
That,
some Neil Diamond stuff, but that's not one I know.
that's what's so fun about these musical movies is you kind of get, at least I do, I get sucked into listening to,
Yeah, well, yeah, I can go right now on my phone. My phone didn't show up. My
Yeah,
phone
yeah,
on Amazon Prime
yeah,
Music, which I listen to, and there's a playlist on there of Neil Diamond stuff that I've listened to since I watched the movie.
yeah.
You know, so yeah, but
Well, yeah, and also I think it's worth reminding that their success, and they had sounds like they had some pretty good success in the Midwest, going to different places playing.
mhm,
They don't do a straight up. I mean, from what you just saw in the movie, they don't do a straight up Neil Diamond show.
no,
He doesn't act like he's Neil Diamond. They don't do kind of one-off pieces of Neil Diamond songs. They do Neil Diamond songs, but they reinterpret them as a duet,
right,
and that kind of reality that sometimes you spin your creativity in different ways and new ways, and being willing to take stuff into new communities and perform or design things that connect with people in different ways. That's an important part of to as Christians to talk about, spreading the gospel, connecting with people, recognizing that it's going to be done differently, and that's okay. You know,
yeah. So I think, friends, we'll probably wrap up our discussion on this when we still got a bit of time, but this is it's a good film.
yeah,
It's a good film. If you watch it for nothing else, the music is fun, and Kate Hudson's performance is worth seeing.
yes, it's really good.
Um, so let's talk about next week. Do you have something in mind, Jonathan?
I do.
Okay. What do you
I'm
got?
going. I'm going to suggest there's a movie that I've been wanting to see. It's going to be on the 6th now on Peacock. Hamnet is what I'd like to throw in.
Hamnet. And
Yes.
that is that a version of the Hamlet story, or
Do you know what it is or no?
I do not.
It's historical fiction of, um, I guess I don't know how accurate all of it is, but um, Hamlet is very close to Hamnet, obviously, and Hamnet was a young son that Shakespeare and his wife lost when he was a child.
Okay.
And so there's some historical stuff that he wrote it kind of in honor of his son. And so this movie is about kind of the tragedy of that child's loss and how the two parents dealt with it, and kind of the birthing of this creative masterpiece of Hamlet. So
Coming March 6th. Okay.
I believe it's on Peacock.
Yeah, I'm looking on Peacock.
Yeah,
So comes March 6th. That's
2 days
what,
from now, Friday.
Thursday,
Friday. So
Friday.
the day you see this, you can watch.
The day this comes out, which is not the day we're recording.
If you don't know, it's another Best Actress performance. Jessie Buckley, she has won everything, like literally everything. If she doesn't win the Oscar for Best Actress, it'll be a shocker, like one of the biggest shockers in Oscar history.
Okay.
So
Because
I
she's
was
won
I
the
was
what,
just
like
really,
Golden Globes and stuff
yeah.
like that. Yeah.
She's literally won like everything, like literally everything,
Okay.
and people are talking about it as one of the great performances of the 21st century. So I was really interested in seeing it. So
Okay. Well, March 6th, so that comes out this Friday.
yeah,
When this video is available for you all to
yeah,
see, you can watch the same day the film that we are watching next week, which is Hamnet.
yeah.
Until next week, friends, keep on finding God in the dark. We'll see you all next Friday. Take care and God bless. Bye. Oh, hey, you made it all the way to the end of the video. Well, thanks for watching. We appreciate your support. And friends, if you find anything that's really wonderful or entertaining or helpful in your Christian walk, we want to encourage you to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share this video with your friends. We publish every Friday morning at 10 a.m. And we hope that you continue to find these videos and these discussions entertaining and informative. Take care and God bless. Bye.